Good morning. Sometimes there are so many things that need to be done that it would be easy to become paralyzed in a state of I don't know what to do next, so I'll do nothing. However, it doesn't achieve a lot. So today there are, as you know, a number of things on the go at the same time. The fence over the other side is, I need to crack on and get the old fence out so that things can progress on that front. Things down the drive here are not really progressing because I am struggling to find somebody to come and take the stuff away. And as far as the soil and that kind of thing is concerned. So I've decided this morning that I'm going to crack on and trim down the driveway, and then this afternoon I'll probably pick it all up, as well as the bits of material that I cut off on the day after the night before that are now lying dead and weeds growing through them. But as I'm standing here, and what I was looking at before I turned my attention to you, is the humming of the bees right next to me. So I'll have to be a bit careful when I come down here, but I'll just show you. It's actually on the ivy. So all of these ivy flowers, and it's covered in bees of various sorts, I think, actually. But certainly there are a lot of them all up through here. And so I will leave them alone. They're very busy, wee chaps. When I cut this hedge, or no, it's not a hedge actually, all these agapanthus, not sure about that one. I have found that actually the best tool for doing that is not the battery clippers, but just to use the hand shears. And the reason is because they're a fairly sticky thing to cut, and the battery ones just get a bit clogged up, and they're not easy to then clean off to keep going. Whereas the hand shears, I can give them a quick wipe and then carry on. So that is what I will do, and I'm just going to put it on time lapse for a bit. Obviously I'm not going to show you all of that, that would be pretty boring. So I'll crack on. At the start of the video I showed you a little of the daily issue we have with all the leaves falling from the albizia tree. It's commonly known as the silk tree because of the pinky red silk-like flowers that it has in summer, typically in late December, early January. If you're ever considering planting one of these, be warned. They constantly shed material. By this I mean that not only are they deciduous, meaning they lose their leaves in the autumn-winter period, as this one is doing now, but in the spring, early summer, when they sprout new leaves, they shed a few of those as well. Once the flowers have come and finished, they all fall off and create a great carpet of brown dead stuff under the tree that is quite difficult to sweep, particularly if it's wet. You may have noticed that the leaves are quite small, and so they are easily tracked inside on feet or shoes everywhere. So with, like ours, it's got a path under it and a garden. It's not ideal. Once all the leaves have fallen, then there are the seed pods. They're actually quite charming in the winter because they rattle in the wind, but they too fall on the ground. In short, they're a lovely tree to have, but only if you have space for it over a lawn and not a garden or a hard surface. That way the mower can deal with all the debris. Our neighbour, who looks down on ours, says that they really like it, particularly as they get to enjoy it without the responsibility of having to deal with the mess it generates. We both smiled about that. Another tree that is great to have in a neighbour's place some distance from you is a phoenix palm. They're a real statement tree, but a pain, as they attract both the noisy roosting birds, but also rats like to nest in them. They are also messy. Because of the steepness of the drive, it is quite easy just to push the clippings down the drive into a heap to make it easier in collecting into the trailer. Trimming all the vegetation down the drive is something that I need to do twice a year. Ordinarily I would have done over this upper bank in late February, early March, and dead-headed all the agapanthus and acanthus mollis, but this hasn't been an ordinary year. There is quite a bit less to do this year due to a large chunk of the bank having gone elsewhere. Our property boundary is right next to the downhill side of the drive, and technically that side is not our responsibility. But none of the owners who have owned the property since the year 2000 have ever done anything to maintain it, so it's just left to us to look after it. As a consequence, most of what I cut on this downhill side I just throw down beyond the agapanthus. It's a total wilderness down there, and so the cut leaves will help suppress some of the weeds at least. As I said earlier, a sharp pair of hand shears is a much better option than a battery hedge trimmer for this task. The hand shears will cut the flax leaves well, whereas the battery shears just mash them rather than cutting them. So that is almost all of the chopping done. The reason I say almost is because as I look down the drive I realise there's some beyond the camera that I haven't done yet, but that's okay. My lovely sister-in-law, that's not to say that the other two sisters-in-laws aren't lovely, but the one that lives locally swung by and brought me a coffee and a bit of ginger slice. Oh, actually it's ginger slice with extras. Look at that. Very nice. It's got oats and sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and sultanas by the look of it. I'm going to enjoy that and the coffee. So I'll do that, then I'll finish cutting down here, and I think I'll postpone lunch because I don't know, it's probably 11:30, 12:15, something like that. But what I will do is, seeing I will have had this to sustain me, I will then bring the trailer down and put all of this into the trailer, and also carry on to the bottom of the drive and pick up those bits of tree wood that I put down there in the hope that the people that were taking stuff away would take them away, but they haven't. So it's a bit of an unsightly mess down there, so I want to get rid of that. And there's some other bits and pieces as well that I will put in the trailer. And then I'll have some lunch after that. So I'm going to turn you off and enjoy my coffee and slice. Going by the definition that a weed is just the right plant in the wrong place, there are 3 or 4 weeds on this bank, all of which are imports from UK and Europe, and which the people of UK and Europe think are wonderful, but in New Zealand they get out of control pretty quickly. So we'll start with the obvious agapanthus, which is what all of these here are, and then this big leafed one is called Acanthus mollis. Now, its common name is often called bear's breeches, but some research suggests that there might have been a bit of an error in the transliteration from something, and that it should actually be bear's claw, because that's what the flowers look like when they have big tall stems, and the flowers look like a bear's claw. And so I think that's probably correct, is that somewhere along the line that's got been translated incorrectly. Then right up the top there you can see these fellas up here that are reaching for the sky. That is tree dahlia. I don't know its botanical name. They grow very tall, so up to, I don't know, I think probably the tallest ones we've had have been 3-4 meters, no, more than 4 meters. They grow really tall and they flower really late, so it's always a bit of a lottery, probably not the best word, whether they will flower before the frost gets them. But because they flower so late, the pollen, you know, the bees and that really like them when they do come out. The tubers on them grow very large. So bigger than my arm, and they, once they're in the ground, they spread like crazy. In fact, all of these plants do. And last and not least, of course, is the ivy, which is more of an issue up this end, and it seems that we have 2 or 3 different ones. There is this quite fine one, and I don't know whether it turns into that bigger one, or, and then there is the variegated one that's up here that has all the flowers on it that I showed you earlier. That, I believe, is also an ivy. And amongst all this is a nice hebe, which does flower, but it's had a bit of a reckoning with this carnuka that fell over and has pulled a chunk of it out of the ground. I will need to get in there and sort that out at some point in the not too distant future. We're a bit sad to lose that carnuka, but it's not something that I can stand up, that's for sure. And it's just starting to flower actually. There you go, it's just starting to flower here. But unfortunately, its days are numbered. Alright, so I need to crack on, finish chopping, and then pick it all up. These dead branches that are now lying down here are the reason that I didn't start gathering up all the trimmings into the trailer until after lunch. These branches are a remnant of the cyclone and were still hung up in the trees above the drive. I spotted them up there while I was having smoko, so once I'd done the other trimming I decided to deal with them before lunch instead of gathering up the trimmings. They were in part still attached to the tree. I had to bush bash my way down from the top with the pole saw and all its extensions to enable me to reach high enough into the tree to cut them off. It was still a lot easier doing it with a battery pole saw than it would have been any other way. The saw also has a hook at the back of the chainsaw bit that you can use to pull branches down when they become entangled in other bits of the tree. It was very handy in this instance, and a facility I needed to use quite a bit in order to bring these branches down. And just like that, we have a trailer full. I finished down the drive and now I've just whipped around the lawns. So now I shall go and empty the trailer. And it's 4:45 or something. That's how days disappear. See you later. Good afternoon. This is day 2 really of working on this fence, and so this afternoon I have already removed the palings and de-nailed the palings, which you can see down here, off about 6 meters of fence. And this is another between here and what's still left there, probably 2.5–3 meters of palings here, which I will carry on with, and then I'm going to start removing this section of fence. I think that's about it for today. The mozzies are starting to come out, so I'll leave them to it. I think, yeah, I've probably done about half of the fence that I need to remove. So that's actually, I'm reasonably happy with that. Obviously I haven't done all of that today, but still it's good to have made that progress. First job next time will be to remove these posts, so one there, one down here, and those 2 white concrete ones. Okay, that's it for today. See you later. Good morning. It's another new day. Absolute cracker of a day, I can tell you. There's blue sky and sunshine. And going to carry on with the fence. Now on this post up behind me there is some wire that I'd put along the top there, which needs to be removed, which brings me to these. These are what's called fencing pliers, and they're a very handy tool. So this bit obviously for getting staples out, or you can pinch them in there as well. These for cutting wire, this for bending wire, and this for either putting in staples, or you can hit that end of it with a hammer if you're having trouble getting your staple out. One thing you must never do though is grip them up here, because this bit here will grab your skin, and it's not a pleasant experience, I can tell you. And so I'll get after it, and we'll get this bit of wire off, and then I will carry on removing the palings. That's a decent sized staple. It is time for smoko. The reason I'm doing this morning is because it is in the shade at this point, only just now, and we're supposed to get up to 25 degrees or something, and once we get to midday it's just going to be too hot working around here. So I have removed all the palings up there. I need to denail all of those and all of these here, but first I'm going to go and have a drink, and then I'll carry on, and I'll just come back to you at the end of the day, or at the end of something, when I have done what I'm doing. See you later. Alrighty, I haven't had enough for this morning. As you can see up here, I have removed all the palings, rails and posts. Probably the next job is to prune back some of the vegetation up that top end there. And down here I still have 2 posts, the wooden one there somewhere and that concrete one. There are some reasonably substantial tree roots around those, just under the surface of the ground, so I will need to get my reciprocating saw to deal with those, and then I'll be able to get the posts out. My reciprocating saw is currently with a neighbour across the road who is taking things out of their house post-cyclone, and they don't have any power over there because of the cyclone. So, and unfortunately there were some overzealous people helping in the days immediately after the cyclone, and some of his tools, which would have actually been fine, got thrown out. So I'm also trying to help him out a bit because I have a surplus of various things, not reciprocating saws though. So I will check this afternoon to see whether he's finished with that, and then in the cooler part of the day I'll come down and try and remove those last 2 posts. But if not, it'll be another day. So that's it for now, and hopefully it's been partly entertaining at least. Not sure how much of things are going to end up in the video anyway, but we'll see what happens. Okie dokie, see you later.